So, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel for another roundtable review of Doctor Who The Well, the third episode of season two. Today, I'm joined by two of our regulars, Miles and Pete, and also Joe, who is a regular on the channel but is making his roundtable debut here. And we may or may not have Josh joining us, we'll see. But we've got someone whose name begins with J-O, whatever happens. So there we go.
Quota filled.
Filling in.
Yeah, box ticked. So the well, let's get into the well straight into it. Literally. I don't know where to begin with this. I know on the call we've got some people that loved it. I know we've got at least one person who didn't love it. I'll put my cards on the table straight away, as well and say, I'm not sure how I feel about it myself. I wasn't quite like
Ooh.
on the same level as everybody else. Like everyone else was like, "Oh, this best episode ever!" Like best episode in years, which kind of like feels like something that people say every week at this point. But yeah, not to rain on anybody's parade, but I don't know. I didn't vibe with it loads. I thought it was solid. It was strong. It was like a well-made hour of television or whatever, or
Well
45
made.
minutes.
Very
Well
good.
made.
I didn't
So we
even
did
realize I was doing that. There we go.
that.
It's gonna happen a lot, isn't
You,
it?
you
But
fell into that one.
I did.
Oh, that's a dad joke, that.
Yeah.
But yes, that's kind of what I thought. I wasn't my favorite so far, probably my least favorite so far, I'm thinking the series, but it has been quite a high bar. But anyway, that's enough of me. Let's go. I mean, Joe, you're making your debut here. Tell us what you thought.
Um,
Get into it.
it's not as good
Disagree
as
with
the
me.
original. Like Midnight,
Yeah.
you can't kind of redo Midnight and do it better. I think it was a good attempt, but it's a bit like I'm not too sure because like the entity, it kind of does its thing but doesn't. So it's doing the mirroring again, but in a different way. And that's the bit that I was a bit like, I kind of don't get this. And the way it kills, because it didn't use people to kill people, it used more of itself. It just seemed a bit different.
I see
Mhm.
what a lot of people kind of said that it didn't need to be a midnight creature and it could have
Yeah.
stood perfectly well on its own. And it's interesting to think, does that detract or does it not do anything to it? Because I mean we'll never know. We'll never know what this would have been like had it not been named as a midnight creature. Would people have responded to it differently? Who knows? I think I was very much in the camp of really enjoying it. It
Mhm.
kind of put me in the mind of Wild Blue Yonder, and it was, yeah, it really ramped up the creepy factor, which I think it kind of,
Needed.
um, yeah, and pacing wise, it's nice to have a change from like Lux and Robot Revolution, which was so quick, and
And
it
fun.
really felt like we slowed down a bit and just it really took its time and let the paranoia sink in for the viewer as well as the characters. I think on a lot of levels, I really enjoyed this one. But what about you, Pete?
Yes.
Okay, what do I think? First of all, very nice to have Joe here. He's got something kind of just behind him that I can just see, and maybe it's because I'm
Uh,
like straight on him. But
very good.
that's very cool.
Yeah.
If you haven't already, follow Joe on Instagram because he does all the cool costume stuff that I don't have a clue about, but it's good stuff. Um, okay, so the well. Let me take you back to May 2008.
Oh,
Okay,
here we go.
Gosh,
all
here we go.
right.
Okay. Yeah.
I, uh, I went into school one Monday morning, okay, and asked a good friend of mine, "What did you think of Doctor Who?" And he said, "Oh, bit boring that." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And that was midnight, and I hadn't watched it by that Monday morning because I don't know what I'd done. The history books don't remember what I'd done, but I'd been so naughty that I wasn't allowed to watch Doctor Who that weekend, so I missed midnight. Okay. And I think because of that, I think because I didn't watch it live and because my first impression was my friend telling me it was rubbish, I've never really quite got on with Midnight. And uh, I understand why people like it, and it is a story that's grown on me over the years. But it's probably still my least favorite of Russell's original run, maybe.
Whoa. Okay.
Um,
Interesting.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think I seem to get the impression, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I seem to get the impression that it wasn't as popular as it is now. I think it's one that has gone up in popularity. I think
10, 15 years
Yeah,
ago,
I
I don't
don't
think
know
it was
what it
quite as
was,
popular.
how it was received at the time. Yeah, that's a good question. You'd have to go and dig out
Mm.
like the
Yeah.
Doctor Who magazine
Oh,
polls and things like that, wouldn't you? Yeah.
so I've got a feeling part of its popularity is a lot of people of our generation enjoyed it, but it's only kind of us growing up that have kind of appreciated it. I think at the time, I don't know, I didn't enjoy it as much when I was a kid, but I enjoy it more now. But a big part of what made that so successful is the kind of psychology side of it, of kind of the different characters playing off against each other, and it's credit where credit's due. It's almost like a stage play Midnight. It works so well because you've got all these different characters and you've only got one location, and
Mm.
it's cool. It's it's not my favorite, and it's not. I wouldn't want it every week, but I do appreciate it doing something different. And when I heard that they were gonna, because it was kind of heavily rumored that they were gonna do a sequel, prequel, whatever it is, uh,
I went in
I was
totally
kind of
blind. I wasn't spoiled at all, so I was quite
really.
lucky.
You must be the only person. 'Cause,
I'm joking. I was spoiled.
um, I was kind of like, oh, we'll see how it is.
Hmm.
Quite enjoyed it on the first watch because I watched it. It was the only one so far that I've watched at, well, not 8 a.m., but when I woke up. And
Yes.
quite enjoyed it and kind of thought I'll probably appreciate it more on a second watch. But then I watched it again for a second time and kind of saw more flaws, more things to pick in it. So yeah, maybe I need a third watch. But I did actually watch. It had been my plan to watch Midnight before I watched The Well, and I didn't end up doing that. But I did watch Midnight in between the first viewing of The Well and my second viewing of The Well. So I kind of had Midnight as as kind of a part of the jam in the in the
Mm.
Well sandwich. So it's interesting seeing how they both work. It's interesting seeing where Russell's taken the Midnight lore and what he's done with it. I do wonder whether it's kind of like diminishing returns a little bit. Kind of think there's some things in Midnight that you think, oh, that's quite mysterious, that's quite cool. Let's not go back to that. And we kind of having this, and you also wonder how much of it is Russell last minute deciding, oh, let's make this a sequel. And it wasn't meant to be. I mean, I haven't watched Unleashed, so I don't know whether that's something that he says on that, but
I think it's
yeah,
implied.
It's implied.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like
It
he's
wouldn't
signed the
wouldn't
TARDIS
surprise
or
me.
something, isn't he?
Hmm.
It makes sense why you would sit back and read that script and go, hang about this, the story beats we've got here, the paranoia that we're playing with, it aligns itself very nicely, just in the same way that Russell, I mean, I don't know what stage when he wrote Gridlock, he went, oh, hang about, creatures in the, let's
It's a
make these the
similar
Macra. Why
scenario, isn't it?
not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't mind a kind of a why not? Let's do this. And especially in this case, I don't think it doesn't detract from Midnight. I would say I think they're still two very distinct entities in and of themselves. Each episode. So yeah. And I think that what the Well does nicely as well. Is that it preserves some of the mystique. Obviously, we get a little bit more of like, oh, there's a little glimpse, little bits and pieces, but it doesn't go the whole hog of, oh, let's take
Get
off
rid
the
of it.
Ice Warrior's helmet, or let's, it
Hmm.
goes, let's preserve a little bit of that mystique, which I like. And
it almost felt a little bit more like a sequel to something like Listen
yeah, it gave me Listen vibes. Yeah.
or even Hide
Hmm.
or something.
Yeah.
It
That
was
kind of
quite
Yeah.
a creature in the
yeah.
background or a creature that like on the bed and listen like that very much reminds me of what the Well was doing with the creature in this and like little glimpses. I mean the first moment that we get the glimpse of it behind Alice's back, and it is that moment of paranoia because you as a viewer as well are like, did I actually see that? And and it kind of draws you in, I feel. And
Hmm.
really, it's actually quite scary. Like I've not, yeah, as you grow up, you don't find certain things as scary as you used to. I think I really would have been freaked out by this one as a kid, and I was still freaked out a bit as an adult at like 10 a.m. whenever I was watching it. So it did its job, well in terms of playing with the horror tropes. I think definitely, yeah.
I kind of feel, I don't know, I think the difficulty, or one of the difficulties with it is, yeah, we had this creature to begin with in Midnight, and like the whole point of it is that you don't see it. And yes, okay, they don't kind of, well, apart from the thing with Paul Casey and Unleashed, where they show off that mask of like the
Oh,
the
that
rock
was stupid.
rock head
Why
thing.
they did that.
Yeah, but
Like, showing that just wrecked it for me. Like,
I kind of I feel yeah, in the episode itself, I didn't like do anything to like ruin the original or the kind of reputation that the creature had or anything. But then I kind of think almost like, what's the point in doing another story like that? Because, and we've all said we knew or suspected this was a Midnight sequel going into it. Like I kind of in the back of my mind was thinking, well, yeah, okay, they're not going to show it. They're kind of leading us up the garden path, kind of thing. Like, and even like with the thing at the end, I kind of thought actually the moment the Doctor stops at the end and he's like, I've got to see it, I've got to look at it. I kind of thought there, oh my God, are they gonna like do something crazy here, like show off something? But yeah, I think personally, I thought that I thought if you kind of know already that they're not going to because of the original and because of the way it was set up in Midnight, you know they're not going to actually show it off or kind of go anywhere with it. I think it kind of goes back to that thing Pete was saying about diminishing returns, where it's like kind of what for me, like what's the point? I suppose other than like having the journey, having the jump scares, having those individual moments of like yeah, those thrills and scares and things. But
Did it make any of you kind of theorize after watching it, you know, and a bit like after we watched 73 Yards and there's all these sort of theories about who the woman is. Do you think that has it got your brain thinking like, oh, I wonder how this links, you know, or wonder the whole thing at the end, there's four creatures in the airlock when we only see three, you know, all that sort of stuff. Was it actually in Belinda or was it in Mo all the time? Did any of you kind of get any of that where you were sort of thinking about it afterwards or
there's stuff that I'm not going to say here, but Richard's kind of done a video on it, how we think how well it might play into the rest of the series.
oh yes,
You did a
okay,
follow up to my
yeah,
theory that we
yeah,
brought
yeah.
up in ours.
Okay.
So whether the Midnight Creature's abilities crop up again, that's all I'm going to say.
It is an interesting kind of thing that I read online that got me thinking a little bit. Do you think that if this story was had a different Doctor in it, if it had like Jodie in it, certain bits would be seen differently afterwards? Because there's a bit where the woman jumps into the well. People would say, I saw someone say online, if that had been Jodie, people would have been complaining like, "Oh, why did you let an innocent woman jump into a well?" And because there was that thing, wasn't there, about the
Oh,
Jodie,
right.
the guy that
Ko
had
Sharmus and
the
yeah,
Gallifrey
and
bomb
Legend
thing.
of the Sea Devils and okay, yeah,
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, and inevitably people would have complained because there
would
were
have
loads
gone
of
for that.
people out there. And I'm sure there were people, there probably is people doing the exact same thing for this as well. It's interesting that you mentioned Shooty and the Doctor because I thought he was terrific in this. And there
It
was
was
moments
good.
like Richard
mm,
mentioned of, I've just got to see it. That's such a
mm,
Doctor moment through and through. You know, not kind of caring about we've got to keep running. It's like, no, I need to see this thing. And the moment when he's looking over Alice's shoulder, the sort of the kind of the glassy eyed look as he freezes, like Tennant in Midnight, and goes, "Oh, there it
mm.
is." Really chilling stuff. And I love, I mean, you know, the whole thing with Alice and the Doctor being able to sign to her. Like, I love that kids will now know how to sign the word Doctor and little things like that. I think, yeah, Shooty got some brilliant stuff to play with in this one,
Mm.
and him and Rose Ayling Ellis really were like the top the top spots for
Yeah,
me
I do
this
agree
week.
with that, and I think even in spite of all the things I've said, Chuti was great, and you really do get a sense of like that moment after he's had the reveal, and he's had the realization that it's midnight and all that kind of stuff, and he's talking about like how he's been here before and he was so scared, and that shot where like slowly kind of moves in on him. It's like you really get a sense of like the fact that he is this ancient Time Lord who has a history and has done all this stuff,
Mm.
and yeah, no, so I thought that was great actually to give him some material that could allow him to like have that about him and like show that side of the Doctor. Was really nice. Yeah.
One thing I will say, Rose's performance, particularly in this story, leaving it open ended, I could see her as a potential companion for season 3.
Oh,
Wouldn't
she
be
was
the first,
brilliant.
wouldn't be the first time they've done it, obviously, with Belinda, but I think that would make a really good TARDIS team because from the looks of it, her and Shooty have a really good bond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't she rumored? I mean, I don't think it was actually like an official thing, but I think before Millie was cast,
Yeah, I
maybe
remember
she
people
left
talking about
EastEnders
her.
or something, and yeah, like
Yeah,
fans were kind of
Maybe
making
she'd
something up, but
audition for it.
well, she's just brilliant though. Like the
yeah,
the way that she makes you feel for her character in this was brilliant. The vulnerability of that character, and even though it lingers on those shots of her, and like that first sort of scene with her as we end, and it cuts to the shot of her face, and there's something there that she's obviously not telling them, but you want to trust her, you want to believe her, and she draws you in. I thought she did a brilliant job. I'd love to see her again in some way. And because it's Doctor Who, of course she could come back. Like you say, we've had literally it's happened with Valerie Sifu and numerous times before that as well. So yeah, please could we see her back somehow? She's fantastic.
but on
Yeah.
the point about like the questions and theories after the episode, I've seen a lot of what people have been saying about that and like linking it to Wild Blue Yonder, saying was that like the third part of a trilogy with these stories or whatever? Like, are they're not things the same creatures? Which, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think I kind of struggled to get too invested in the theories and like even the stuff like with at the end, the final scene, like where it's all has the creature escaped and stuff. I kind of just thought, oh, okay, but it's nice that it's prompting all that stuff, I suppose, and yeah, I think I will say I think Wild Blue Yonder for me was a better like spiritual sequel, just in terms of like the imitation thing, that idea being carried across, and I kind of think it was a shame that we didn't get that again in this, because again, kind of going into it, I thought, okay, if it's a Midnight sequel, we've got a really cool like circular set. Are we going to have with the soldiers standing around? Are we going to have something going on there, like with the helmets as well, maybe? Because I'd read in somewhere that the helmets had their own microphones and speakers, I think. So are we going to have like something there where everything's being repeated and whatever? And what do we think of like the kind of the new ability, the Midnight's thing, the whole clock face from above? And throwing people
It
into
does
the air?
seem like a natural evolution of what it would move on to next, like first mimicking, then it develops a body, it's still sort of copying, and then it'd move on to killing. But there's just something about it where I feel like there should have been a layer of build up to it. Like, I get that it's been there a while and then it's been killing people, but I just feel like for the Doctor to put two and two together, there should have been, something else, like, because you kind of got that first piece with the something to do with the sun. It's like extonic, isn't it? Sunlight. That
The
he first
galvanic
gets.
thing. Oh, hang on.
Yeah. Then the diamond. And then you'd think there should be like a third piece, for him to go, right, boom, that's it. And I just am wondering if there was like
Nothing
not quite
expanded.
enough similar.
The crew's expanded.
Hello. Another
Got
trooper
another
has
mission
arrived.
member,
Yeah.
another trooper. Just here for fun.
I've emerged from the well. How are you guys doing?
Not bad. Josh,
Here's
what
our
did you
exclusive
think?
reveal on who the Midnight Entity is.
Yes.
It is Josh.
Yes, the answers is right here on the round table. I thought it was great fun. I saw a lot of people singing its praises, and I don't think I liked it as much as Lux. I don't know if that's because the whole midnight reveal was spoiled for me already, though. I don't know if I'd gone into it blind, it would have had more impact. But I really enjoyed it, but because I knew what was coming, I did spend like the first sort of half of it just waiting for, okay, I know it's the midnight creature, come on, let's just get to it. And then once that was revealed, I feel like we didn't have enough time really to play with it more. It seemed like, especially when Shooty went up to I've forgotten her character name now. What's
Shaya, is it? Or Alice?
Alice? Yes.
Yeah.
When he goes up to Alice and he has that moment where he says, it knows my name. That was really creepy. And then instantly it goes from that to, oh, I know what it is. I know how we're going to find a way out. And then the 15th Doctor's music starts playing and it all just seemed a bit sudden.
Oh gosh, yeah.
No,
I'd
I
forgotten
don't know. I
about
wasn't. I wasn't sure about that. But I enjoyed it a lot, and it was a very creepy episode as well, which I liked.
that.
Yeah, the creepiness. It definitely struck a chord with casual viewers as well. I was watching with Izzy, and she said, I mean, she obviously didn't know about the Midnight Reveal as well, so that helped. But she said that it was one of the best ones in ages for her. I had mates messaging me who hadn't messaged me about Doctor Who in ages, going, "Doctor Who was really good this week, wasn't it? It was fantastic." So perhaps there's a certain level of fandom because we have that link to Midnight, and you know, fans will instantly kind of latch onto that and assess it by that sort of standard. Again, bringing us back to what I said at the beginning, you know, it'd be interesting, you know, if we could see what in the alternate parallel world, you know, if this wasn't a Midnight sequel, you know, what would the reaction be to it? Would it be any different? It'll be hard to ever say, really, won't it? Because we'll never
Yeah,
know what it would have been like without.
I
sure.
don't think there was enough context in it as well as to if you're a casual viewer and you've not seen Midnight, what happened in Midnight. There was kind of what, two shots of kind of
I
flash.
think, yeah, I think that's a fair point, but also I think that I think again as fans, I think we worry unnecessarily about that because I had that moment. I was like, oh, do we need those shots? Is that going to confuse people? But I don't know if it will. I think there'll be some people who will go, oh, I think I vaguely remember that one. Oh, that's quite cool. Or they just won't. They'll just go, oh, I assume that's something that's happened previously, just like we did. You know, you jump into you know, back in the day when you're getting into Doctor Who, you jump into the pirate planet or whatever. Maybe that's a bad example. It's midway through a season, but you know, you jump into a random story and you go, okay, they're the companions. This is the Doctor for the week. I'm guessing that this is a sequel to whatever. Cool, and you just brush it off. So I was worried about that as well, but I think that it's probably an unnecessary worry. I think it should be okay.
I can't lie, I did kind of have an issue with it. I know that people have memed it to death
I'm
Yeah.
gonna
online.
just say this,
And
yeah.
this is what an episode would be like if it was in RTD2.
There's that brilliant
But
one where it's like the Doctor and Sarah Jane meeting in school reunion, and there's the flashbacks,
yes.
and the Master's theme is playing. It's perfect. It's
I
great.
saw a
Yeah,
Davros one from Journey's End as well.
yeah.
Um, and one with
Oh,
Sacha
bless
Dhawan in
him.
Spyfall, but it cuts back to John Sim because it's got to have David Tennant in it, which I thought was quite funny.
Oh,
Um,
right.
Memes aside, I think
Yes.
that this is still meant to be the relaunch of the show. This is meant to be season 2. It's not series 15, allegedly. So to
Yeah.
harken back to this, um, to an episode that is not on Disney Plus for international viewers outside of the UK, I think that would be confusing. Probably not as confusing as all the
Totally right.
Pyramids and Mars stuff was last year. But I still think that if you're trying to get a new audience, um, it was enough to say I've been here before. And I think that in terms of the whole thing with it being a sequel to Midnight, I go back and forth on because I think that with the tension that was built up for the first half, by the time that we find out who it is, well, we don't know who it is, that's the point. Once we find out what it is, and it's this creature from Midnight, we instantly understand how powerful it is, and that the Doctor is scared because we know like this is a big thing and this is basically unstoppable. Like we don't know, we don't understand it. So in that sense, it's fine. But you would have got that across anyway. I don't think that those flashbacks were needed. And so for a new audience watching season 2 of a TV show, maybe it was a misstep. Um, but I don't know. In terms of it being a sequel to Midnight, I think it behaved very differently to The Creature in Midnight, to the point where there isn't really much similarity, to be fair, in terms of like the setting, in terms of like the planet 6767, sure. But in terms of the creature, it behaves so differently, which is good because you don't want to see the same thing over and over again. But also the way that the Doctor described it in the episode, and he was saying like when he saw it before, it was playing games. I kind of questioned that. Was it playing games? Like it seemed like in Midnight it was learning and it was doing something different. And I think what was great about Midnight was that you didn't know what was happening. And to sort of say, no, that's what it was doing. It's this like um, childish entity that plays with you and is deliberately trying to mess with you for fun. Um, Kind of ruined a bit of the mystique of it. So I'm not sure what you guys have said and what you guys think about it being a sequel, but
Do you think it's
I'm
changed the
going
way
back.
you'll watch Midnight now?
No, because I think that it's so divorced from Midnight that I kind of, not to say that it's not canon, but like it's obviously set like
Throw it down
Hashtag
the well,
RIP
yeah.
Doctor Who.
not my Doctor Who. The Well is the final episode. No, not like that. But obviously, it's set so far in the future. You can say that the creature has evolved, or you can even say it's a different creature. This is still it's all assumptions.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Hmm.
It's the same planet. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the same creature, for example. And
Sure.
it could be that there's two, considering that at the end that you see that something gets out of the escape pod. So there's all sorts of explanations. I don't think it's affected my enjoyment of Midnight, but I didn't agree with the way it portrayed what happened in Midnight because it kind of put a definitive answer on what was happening in at least in the characterization of it, which I thought was a little bit too much, in my opinion.
No, the only thing I was going to say, just before we wrap up, I think all the discussion we've had about like whether it needs to be a sequel or not, and the flashback scenes and all that kind of stuff, I think it does speak to something about like I don't know the state of the show at the moment and like the era. Like we are getting quite a few of these sequels and callbacks. Like, I think this is the third one we've had because we've had the Giggle with the Toymaker, and obviously Sutek and the finale last year, and now the Midnight Creature coming back. And like each time it's been like, well, particularly the first example is like a monster or villain like from many decades ago, or like relatively speaking quite a long time. Like I was looking back through previous sequels we've had in Doctor Who history, and like most of them are just, oh yeah, we'll bring back the Silurians like next year, or Craig Owens, or it's relatively contained. It's like, between a couple of series a character will come back or recur. Yeah, and like with the flashbacks and stuff as well, it's kind of like I don't know, like so I think with Sutek and with the Toymaker, okay, fair enough. Like bring those back, do that, play on the show's heritage. I do think with this, like Josh was saying, because it's interesting. It's like the first time I suppose in a while that we've gone back into the back catalogue of like new series monsters that haven't come back. And I applaud that effort, but I do think it's a tad confusing with this being season 2, and I wonder again, like going back to those conversations we were having about whether it needs to be a sequel. Although it's nice to have something like in there like that to resonate with fans and give it that extra level of meaning. Yeah, I'm not sure I was as sold. Like compared to something like last year in episode 3, we had the callbacks to Villain Guard. I thought, okay, that's nice. And the clerics and stuff from the Moffat era. This felt a bit, I don't know, a bit stranger, a bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I do see what you mean because, like, it's almost odd. Like, we've discussed this in, I think it's uploaded by now, the season 2 series video.
yes.
We've, like, heavily discussed about the Daleks and how they're not going to be in this series. Like, that's not a spoiler for you, Miles. We'll just.
Oh
leave it
yeah,
at that.
no. I gather that.
Having, like, a returning creature like that, like having this over that, it does seem a little bit peculiar, especially like, launching a new program. Let's go into this obscure back catalogue as opposed to what we're known for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Cool.
What did everyone think of the Mrs. Flood appearance at the end?
Oh, that
I
annoyed me as
forgot
well.
about Mrs. Flood. I thought it was Susan Twist, and then I went,
Yeah,
"Oh no, hang
exactly.
about, this is a different woman."
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like, oh, are we literally just doing the same thing again as season 1 now? Two mysterious women in a row popping up through history. I don't know.
I think
Yeah,
for that, I'm kind of reserving judgment on that because we've not had the full story yet. So just in the same way as you wouldn't look at Vote Saxon or Bad Wolf and go, oh, I don't really like this, I think you just have to
Yeah.
wait until you see the conclusion.
No, I have seen people
it's-
saying those things
This
actually.
is true. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is true.
I forget about that as well sometimes though when I'm watching, and I'm like, hang about, I should probably just
Yeah.
Fair point.
I'm
It's
just
just I
fed up of.
didn't
I'm just
seem.
sick of mysterious women. Every single season, there's someone. You know,
Yeah.
you've got your Claras, you've got your Misses,
Missy.
you've got your Susan Twists, you've got your River Songs, you've got who else is there? Madame Kavarian. Every season there's
Shilda,
someone that
Yeah.
every season there's someone. Oh, is it Susan? Oh, is it Omega? No, it's just that one that's married to Brian May.
But I will
not
actually,
interested.
I will actually defend this actually, because like I said, I've seen people say, "Oh, it's just the same thing again of having another woman," but I don't know. To me, that's not an issue. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the fact that we've got someone who very much knows what they're doing, like compared to Susan Twist, and you don't know whether those characters are linked or the same person or not.
Yeah.
Here we
It
know
more
there's
gives me
someone who's...
vibes of like Missy in Series 8. Where it's
Yeah,
like, oh,
to-
here's someone
to be
who's ahead
fair.
of the game here, who knows
Exactly, yeah.
what's going on, and that's kind of interesting,
like
isn't
that.
it? Rather than an oblivious figure who
Yeah.
doesn't know why they're there.
But yeah,
This
we
is-
I guess
shall see
it-
with that.
This is true.
It is also opening to the last of, when we saw her, she was Ruby's neighbour and she didn't know what TARDIS was, and then she knew what TARDIS was, and now we've seen the past and we've seen it in the future, and it's kind of, I suppose at the time we are a little bit more out of, so I suppose in that regard, yeah, we're learning about what she can do and what her powers are. I don't know, I'm just a bit bored of it. It's just kind of, when I see her come on the screen, I kind of just switch off. But I'm hoping I'll pleasantly surprised when she comes in next week's, I guess.
To be fair, that is a good point that you raised because it is different to the Susan Twist in that it is the same character. We know it's the same character, and she's got some kind of power over events. It did actually remind me of. I was rewatching bits of The Bells of St. John the other week, and it reminded me of how at the end of that, the Great Intelligence pops up,
Yes.
and it's behind what's going on, and it seemed a bit like that in that she's got some kind of authority over what's happening here, and she's clued up on what the Doctor's doing with the Vindicator. I think you guys have caught me on a bad day. It wasn't that bad. It was fine. It's okay.
Well, let's turn our
reserve
attention
judgment.
briefly to Lucky Day, which is fast approaching
Well,
now, isn't it?
it's my lucky day today because Joe's here, and that doesn't always happen.
Oh, he's a smooth talker.
Yes. So, any thoughts, predictions for this? I think it's going to be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to an Earth-based contemporary adventure, going back to Ruby Sunday, Unit, the Vlinks, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, the Blinks.
We've got this I think country village setting at some point as well, with like a church and a helicopter, like a Unit helicopter. It's
Right.
like, great in a pub. Yeah, Demons vibes. Devil's End. So.
Love
Yeah.
and Monsters, the sequel, basically.
Potentially.
Okay. I think I'm interested to see what Ruby's boyfriend's deal is. I don't trust him. I don't know why.
Have you seen much about him, Miles, in terms of like filming and stuff?
No, to be honest, I was just about to say I'm
Okay.
going into the rest of this series like totally blind, bar promo pictures and trailers. Like I have no idea. I'm just very excited to see Ruby Sunday again because I love Ruby Sunday. So
Yeah.
I'm I'm keen
And
to see.
I'm going to
what
stick up for
she's
her
got
as
in
well,
store.
actually. Again, like similar with the to the Mrs. Flood thing, because there's been a lot of people saying lately, "Oh, like Belinda's great," and yeah, she is. But like sometimes they say that at the expense of Ruby. And I was watching back like 73 Hours recently and some of the old, last year's episodes, and she is still great. So yeah, they're both fantastic. We're looking forward to seeing her again, definitely.
I'm not a Praxis biggest fan, so we'll see.
Oh,
We'll see
Yeah.
how I think it.
is
I
Pete
could be-
is he writing
Right.
War Between the Land and the Sea? Is that the same
Yeah.
writer?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I enjoyed the first few collection trailers. I thought the first few were quite strong. The first one today, so kind of the initial one, but then I do got into a bit too much of a kind of into what's the word I'm looking for? The too
Like
similar.
formulaic kind of.
Formulaic, yeah.
Yeah.
I think certainly with the last few, and I can see why they kind of have had a bit of a break from them for a while, because I think the last few were quite kind of a little bit generic in some ways. But I thought Kablam was one of Jodie's strongest stories. I put Praxis down quite a lot, but I remember when Kablam came out, my favorite of Jodie's first series, or one of my favorite of Jodie's first series. So Pete can write. He's very good at the emotional beats. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Maybe Praxis was just an off day. We'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And this will be his lucky day.
God,
I don't-
there's
I was
so
gonna
much
say,
in
I
this
don't-
on the round
series.
table next week.
I was going to say, I don't know much about what's happening in this either. Like, going into it completely blind. I wasn't really a big Praxius fan either. I thought Kablam was better as well. So I'm cautiously optimistic. The only thing that I can gauge from the photos I have seen of the episode is Shooty has got a load of outfits, and I'm not quite sure
Yes.
how that
Yeah,
plays
tons.
into it,
What's
considering.
the white? The one that's totally white.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And considering,
Cool.
I think
I don't
it's
think
like
I've
a
seen
top the light episode. And also, it looks like, because there's one photo with him and Ruby where it looks like it's from season
From
one.
this, yeah. Is that? I wonder
So-
if that's gonna be a flashback or what?
Actually,
yeah,
I
that's
saw
yeah.
something
interesting.
really cool about this just before we start recording, and
Hmm.
I don't know, people may or might not know about this, but apparently in one of the novels released last year, the 15th Doctor and Ruby novels, or whenever they were released, there's a bit where Ruby's talking about the stuff she's done with the Doctor, the adventures she's been on, and one of the things she mentions is that she's outrun a Shriek, and the Shriek is the creature that is in this story. So it's like,
Very nice.
yeah, I don't think that's a spoiler to say, but like, yeah, so already at that point, which I
Well, we
suppose
know
makes
there's
sense
monsters
because
in
they
it.
were, yeah, basically the
Yeah, that'd
monster
be a
that
shame if there weren't. There's no monsters this week.
but
That's weird.
she's had a previous encounter with the monster from this week in season one, and that's already been alluded to in spin-off
that's
media. That's the kind of the
interesting.
gist of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
Okay.
nice. It's like the things when
Yeah.
like with series one, there was a bit of that, wasn't there? Where the novels mentioned like was it Women Wept and the Blatherine, and
Yeah, in
things,
Boomtown,
things that
yeah.
came later on. Into
I
the
do wonder
scenario.
if there's been any other kind of seeds that have been put in place in season one that we didn't know about. I think the obvious thing to jump to that I've seen people talk about online is, are we going to get an explanation for that 6-month time jump between episode 1 and 2? And is this lost scene taking place there?
Yeah, we shall see whether or not it is our lucky day next week. But yes, let us know all of your thoughts about the well in the comments below and your predictions for Lucky Day. Thank you to Miles, Pete, Josh, and Joe for joining me. And yeah, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Don't turn around. Ah!